when you start to look at the data, it's actually quite stark. So I did this student voice survey, and I set it up as a homework, and I got a quite phenomenal response rate. I mean, I don't know whenever you've tried student voice surveys, whether you get more than 20, 30, 40 responses. But here we got a 76% average response rate. I think it's because I set it up as a homework in Frog from the deputy head saying, you must do this. And it had the effect of making them do it. So I think the results, given the large numbers of response, the results, I think, are kind of fairly authentic. So during the first boost phase in January for 3 weeks, there were just under, look at my data properly, just under 10,000 boost activities devoted to catch up in extension, which I think is quite remarkable. So it works out something like 13 boost activities per student during that phase. So this chart here is all about whether students got the purpose of the KPI boost. And what they're saying is, yeah, they thought it was all about improving their work, but for a good number of them, it was also about deepening their understanding through moving from one status to another. And I think that tells us that they were quite motivated during this phase to kind of respond to what was in the system and to try to improve. So where have you completed them? You can see clearly that the majority here have either, they see it as a homework activity or a class and homework activity together. And what we've done is made an explicit connection between blue status achievement in KPIs and our attitude to learning scale. So within our attitude to learning scale, we've kind of described the ideal learner, and we've made that connection, all the characteristics of the ideal learner, we've made that connection with students showing evidence that we think would be judged as exceeded. And that seems to be quite a motivational element in this too. So have my KPIs improved as a result of KPI boost? In year 7, most definitely. I think that's a pretty compelling kind of result. They are self-aware around KPIs. They really do get what the requirement is. And I think it's pretty true of year 8 and 9 as well. So this question is really about them thinking about whether their work has improved, whether they're seeing a kind of obvious change. And it's slightly kind of ambiguously phrased, I suppose. But what it does show is that for some, and indeed most students, the KPI threshold has moved from one status to the next. And we think this tells us quite a lot about our system. We think it shows that the students are clearly motivated to improve. It means that they get and understand the simple colour assessment system and actually how it works. And during the boost phase, it kind of shows fairly clearly that it's allowed the students to reinforce and deepen their understanding. So those results on the students, I think, are fairly stark. And I think Lucy mentioned the fact that she came and she spoke to some of our students. When you talk to them individually, they'll say pretty much the same. You could take any kind of sample of them, and they'll tell you that their work, as a consequence of the Stop the World moment, where we revisit prior learning and actually use the tools within Frog to push out catch up and extension stuff, they'll tell you it's actually making a difference.